וואי, כן. אני צריך להגיד את הרקורד. תנסי עכשיו לדבר.
אני שומעת אותך מרחוק, כאילו מאוזניות אחרות, רגע. כן, נראה לי.
לא. אנחנו שומעים אותה מהטלוויזיה.
אני שומעת, רגע.
הנה האחי ישראלי. אוקיי. הג'ינגל, הרחץ פה.
כן, אבל אנחנו לא שומעים אותה.
אנחנו שומעים אותה מרחוק.
זה מוזר.
התקדמנו לפחות.
לא צריך להגביר את זה.
מה זה?
תדברי עכשיו.
כן.
תדברי עכשיו. תדברי.
דברי?
לא שומעים.
של המוזיקה.
רגע, אני אנסה עם זה. הוא אמר, תנסי עכשיו.
אנחנו שומעים אותך, אבל לא מהאוזניות.
אתה שומע אותה מהסטודיו.
כן.
בסדר, לא אכפת מהסטודיו, אבל שזה יהיה יותר חזק, שנשמע אותה.
אותך אני שומע עכשיו. תנסי עכשיו.
אולי לסובב את הצ'אנל מינוס.
תנסי, אנחנו נגיע, נפתור את הבעיה. כל הזמן תנסי לדבר עם שגית.
מה? חצי דקה, כן, יש לך מה שאת רוצה.
לא.
יש וויסקי.
עכשיו אני שומעת את עצמי.
אני ככה.
אני יודע שבשיחה הקודמת זה היה על מיוט פה.
מה?
עם מוחשים פה אני מתחתן עליו.
אז כאילו לוודא שאנחנו הקלטנו את השיחה הקודמת?
לא, הוא היה על מיוט.
ואז?
עכשיו שמענו, תנסי שהיא תנסה לדבר.
אני שומעת אותה מהאוזניות מהסטודיו. מהרמקולים בסטודיו.
אני אתקשר אליו עוד הפעם, זה לא הגיוני.
אנחנו הקלטנו מלפני
והכל היה
פחות משעה והיה הכל בסדר. את לא שומעת אותנו? עכשיו היא לא שומעת אותנו.
כן, בסדר. זה אני יכול לפתור. את שומעת אותנו.
עכשיו את שומעת אותנו. כן, אמרתי שאני לא יודעת מה, אנחנו לא יודעים מה הבעיה, כי מקודם הקלטנו עם עוד מישהו מהארץ, והכל היה תקין. אנחנו שומעים אותך, אבל לרחוק, לא ברור למה.
On entend les madames, mais de loin, pas dans les casques.
Et les casques sont bien montés?
Oui, il y a...
C'est comme les sons arrivent de la studio et pas sur les casques. C'est ça en fait.
Oui.
Comment?
Les sons, c'est dans les casques.
Tu peux me passer Ifat, s'il te plaît?
Ouais. J'arrive. Clément?
Oui.
Oui. Le son arrive du studio, ça arrive pas sur les casques en fait.
Ça arrive dans le casque?
Oui. Mais très petit.
Parce que je vois qu'il n'y a rien sur la console quand elle parle dans le coup. Ouais. On dirait qu'il n'y a rien comme si elle n'était pas connectée.
Non, mais maintenant on peut entendre.
Maintenant vous entendez, oui.
Oui, mais c'est très faible. Ça n'arrive pas dans les casques. Et je me demande s'il faut...
Ah oui, non, ça arrive dans... Ok. Je sais où c'est. Ça arrive dans l'autre casque.
Ouais.
qui est sur la tour de l'ordinateur,
Ok.
qui est de Shalom.
Ok.
Là, il y a un casque.
Mhm.
Vous pouvez le
Ah,
mettre sur la table.
זה.
Mais le problème, c'est que ça enregistre pas sa voix.
Ah.
Vous entendez sa voix, ça va enregistrer ce que toi tu dis, ce que je fais.
אני demandais. את יכולה לדבר רגע? נכון, oui, 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 tu as raison.
We are finding the problem.
Oui, j'entends très bien sur ce casque. Alors, il faut que j'ai... Qu'est-ce que je dois faire?
Mais le problème, j'ai peur que ça enregistre pas sa voix avec.
אבל למה זה עכשיו יש לנו את הבעיה הזאת ולא היה קודם?
Oui, ok, mais qu'est-ce qu'on a fait? Que nous, on n'a rien touché, que maintenant ça arrive là-bas et ça...
Oui, pourquoi maintenant ça, on a...
Normalement, sur la télé, là, regardez la télé.
Ouais.
Oui.
Oui.
Ok.
Et il est coupé.
Mais quand c'est coupé, elle ne peut pas nous écouter.
C'est ça qui est bizarre. Normalement, c'est coupé, sinon ça fait en double.
Ok.
Sur l'ordinateur de là où il y a Chapelle. Tu peux mettre la souris sur l'écran avec YouTube.
Oui.
Là, normalement, ici, c'est ce micro-là qui fait qu'on l'entend et ça va dans la tête finale. Là, vous l'entendez plus.
תנסי לדבר. Non, on n'entend plus.
לא, שומעים קצת. שומעים משם.
On entend par la casse qui est en dessous du câble, de la table.
כן.
על מה לחצתם פה להעלות את הווליום?
לא לחצנו על כלום, היה...
לא, שהיה... פתרתם את הבעיה.
היה פה מיוט, זה היה פה על מיוט.
תחזירו את זה למיוט.
למה? לא, כי אז אנחנו לא שומעים בכלל.
לא, אבל תחזיר את זה, שיהיה לו איזושהי נקודה...
Tu vois, on a touché ça, ça c'était en mute.
ואז התחלנו לשמוע אותה.
Celui sur la télé.
Le petit écran au milieu, comme il y a 3 écrans, le petit écran, on a... Le son a été coupé, c'est sur mute, et puis on a touché pour qu'on puisse...
l'entendre.
Ah, mais attendez.
Attendez.
Il n'y a pas Radio Taïka qui est invité dans la réunion comme ça.
Ah.
Il faut inviter Radio Taïka d'antenne, comme il est là. Ça se fait.
אני
Sur
הולכת
l'autre ordinateur, il faut l'accepter.
Mais quel ordinateur?
Celui de Yalking.
Ouais, mais je vois. Il n'y a rien. Attends, il y a trop de fenêtres peut-être. Oui, oui. Oui, inviter et participer.
Voilà, c'est ça. Il faut que les deux, il faut que ça ne marche pas.
Ok,
Il n'y a pas Radio Taïka dans...
ok, ok. Et maintenant, comment on peut l'inviter? Tu peux le faire? Maintenant, c'est tous les deux participent, non? Streaming Judaïka et Dorit.
Oui,
Ah.
il faut le troisième, il faut...
כן, אנחנו זה, אנחנו לא...
invité. Il a quitté, participé et refusé.
שאת מדברת עם מה הוא אומר?
אוקיי.
שאת מדברת עם הבעלים, מה הוא אומר?
לא דיברתי איתו על זה.
Hachi Israeli, ok. Ok, Léon vient de participer à la réunion.
Maintenant, elle nous entend. Il faut la mettre dans la salle d'attente aussi.
Il faut l'admettre. את יכולה לדבר?
די, שיגעו אותה.
רגע. תדברי שוב?
לא.
Non, on l'entend pas.
שומעים אותה אותו דבר, מהקסק השני,
Ouais, on entend dans le troisième
the
casque
other
là.
headphones. Maybe she has to leave and...
Mais là, parce que vous êtes dans la salle d'attente, il faut accepter dans la salle d'attente que l'autre...
Et-
Donc vous acceptez dans la réunion sur l'autre ordinateur, le petit écran,
Oui.
ou sur la télé, il faut accepter Hachi Israeli qui est dans la salle d'attente.
Et comment on fait ça? Tu me dis, je vais le faire.
Sur la télé ou sur le petit écran.
Sur le petit écran. Ah, Radio Judaïka. L'importance est sur l'occupé volontaire, non, c'est pas ça.
יש לך סל דעתון, ויש לך רדיו ג'ודאיקה.
Ah,
תלחץ, admit.
attends. Oui, attends. Cette souris, moi, et cette souris. Oh,
הנה, admit.
non, il bouge pas.
מה בוש בזה? הסורי?
כן.
תלחץ Enter. תבוא עם הזה ותלחץ.
Non, attends.
Après, il faudra couper le micro du Zoom sur la télé. Là. Sinon, il va y avoir un écho. Il va être en double.
ותורידו את המיקרופון.
איזה מיקרופון צריך להוריד?
מצד שמאל למטה, כן, תורידי אותו.
אוקיי.
בוא נראה.
ואיפה היא עכשיו?
היא אמורה.
הנה, וואלה.
יופי, כל הכבוד.
וואי.
הללויה.
Attends, on va pas.
ואיפה היא?
on a perdu Dorit.
מה זה?
הנה, עכשיו אנחנו רואים אותך. למה עוד פעם?
Non, juste maintenant. אנחנו צריכים ללחוץ על זום, והיא צריכה להופיע. Elle a disparu.
על מה צריך ללחוץ פה?
כן, זום 2. לא, קודם כל זום, וזום 2. אולי זה קמרה אחרת? Merde alors. Maintenant, je ne les vois pas dans les petits écrans. Elle est dans le grand écran, mais pas dans le petit.
Elle n'est pas là, c'est seulement...
Dans le streaming deck, je pousse caméra 2. Ah, on est là. Ah, elle est disparue encore. Ok. מה נשמע דורית?
טוב, תודה. ואיך קוראים לך? ואיך קוראים... סליחה, וגם איך קוראים לך? אני לא מכירה.
אוקיי, מרסי.
נעים מאוד, אני יפעת.
היי יפעת, נעים מאוד. כיף להכיר אותך.
גם אותך, סליחה על הבעיות הטכניות.
אין בעיה, אני גם היה לי פודקאסט, ואני מבינה את ה-technical difficulties. בעיות...
Understatement. We had a bit of
a magical situation here. It's unclear what we've done since the line remained open and we haven't touched anything.
היי שלום, נעים מאוד.
אני אשמע. אתם פתחתם סשן והכל בשביל להגיד. מה קורה?
כיף, שיגעון, אתמול היה לי את כל המשפחה פה לארוחת ערב, עשינו ברבקיו.
איזה כיף.
ממש כיף.
איזה כיף לכם, ממש.
את צריכה לבוא ולבקר. פשוט, המשפחה שלי לא מכירים אתכם.
כן, זה פשוט בתיאוריה. Practically it's more complicated. אבל בעזרת השם באפריל.
נכון, לבר מצווה.
כן, זו התוכנית.
יופי, שיגעון.
Dorit, I just wanted to know because we're going to introduce you, so I wanted to double check with you that it's okay for you. What we put together, if not we make changes. So Dorit Reichental, a certified professional coach, trauma and relationship specialist, and the founder of Relationship Works Life Coaching, helps individual couples and families heal from relational trauma, including betrayal, addiction, and loss of intimacy.
You got it. And you could put in that I'm a trained trauma therapist. I'm actually I'm a trauma therapist.
Trained trauma therapist.
Or a retired trauma therapist. Or just trauma therapist is fine.
Okay.
Trauma therapist.
יפעת תציג אותך.
בסדר.
ואנחנו ניגש לשאלות שחלקן כתבנו מראש, גם מה שאת הצעת לנו.
יופי, אתם יכולים לשאול מה שאתם רוצות.
בדיוק באתי להגיד לך, ואנחנו תמיד, יש לנו את החוצפה הישראלית, ואנחנו, מתוך השאלות שכתבנו מראש, אנחנו גם יוצאות לשאלות קצת יותר ספונטניות.
אין בעיה, אין בעיה, הכל טוב.
אם יש משהו שהוא לא נוח, או לזה תגידי לנו. קצת קשה לנו עם אנשים שאנחנו עובדים איתם בזום, שאנחנו מראיינים בזום, בגלל שאנחנו לא באותו ספייס, לקרוא שפת גוף וכאלה, אז רק בגלל שזה רדיו, ואנחנו גם לא רוצות לקטוע או משהו כזה, לשים לב שזה לא יהיה מונולוגים ארוכים מדי, שאנחנו יושבות ככה ו...
כן,
Okay.
And we will start with the basics because we're talking about pathological love relationships, but what do we mean by that? What is a psychopath? There are some terms that we use in our day-to-day, but actually they have a medical definition. So we will start with that to establish grounds, and from that moment on we will continue.
Proceed.
Okay. Great.
All right.
We start with a short jingle.
Yeah.
And then
mumbo jumbo between me and Sagit for a minute, and then we.
It's great. I had my own podcast. We're good here.
Okay.
Thanks.
Good.
1, 2, 3.
אובמה תעזור, ואלוהים ישמור, אנחנו נשתדל, יש כיפת ברזל, השיר כולו מקורי, רק הלחן עממי.
הלו.
שלום וברוכים לאחי ישראלי. תראי איך השתפרתי, שנה עברה ואני לא אומר
שלום.
כן, זהו, נגמלתי. ברוכים הבאים לאחי ישראלי 90.2 FM ברדיו ג'ודייקה, הישר מבריסל הגשומה. מה שלומך, סגיתי?
אני בסדר.
אני הרגשתי הפעם שהיה את הג'ינגל החדש שלנו, יהיה בסדר, הרגשתי שאת אומרת את זה לעצמך.
שאני... כן, זו מנטרה. האמת, זה חלק מהשפה שלנו, יהיה בסדר, הכל דבש. יאללה, ממי.
החיים שלנו.
מה איתך?
הכל טוב, תקופה של שינויים, תקופה של התחלות חדשות, וזה מרגש. ואני אניח את זה בזה. אני אניח את זה בקודים.
To be continued.
כן. אבל אנחנו כאן היום ביחד עם, ואני אעבור לאנגלית ברשותך.
Okay.
We're here today with Dorit Reichental, who is a certified professional coach and a trauma therapist, specializes in trauma relationships, and the founder of Relationship Works Life Coaching. Dorit actually helps individuals, couples, and families heal from relational trauma, including betrayal, which we'll talk about, addiction,
Which we'll talk about.
and loss of intimacy, which has never happened to anyone. Hello, how are you, Dorit? It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Thanks so much.
And the truth is, my specialty is sexual addiction. So, you know, that's...
We don't know anyone.
We don't know anyone who has this kind of addictions. We don't admit anything. What do you mean by sexual addiction?
Okay, and so sex addiction or problematic sexual behavior, it's a coping strategy. And typically when there is childhood trauma, chronic trauma, and if you think about it, this is an Israeli audience, correct?
Not only Israeli.
Jewish audience, probably.
It's a Jew, even more so. So it's an Israeli Jewish audience. And if you think about it, 100% of us are traumatized. We all suffer not only from our own traumas, but from generational traumas, going back 11 generations that are in our DNA. So we develop coping strategies like food, sex, drugs, alcohol. But for us Jews, food and sex is very high up on the list.
We both listen and think, where is that wrong, actually?
Yeah, we had, over the summer, we hosted someone who specializes in the trips, the youth trips to Auschwitz. And he specialized in what you call collective memory. And he touched also somebody from Ben Gurion University, from anthropology department, or leading the anthropology department, and he spoke about that there is something that is called collective memory, and that is something that on one end you want to maintain because it's a part of an identity, but now you are basically coming and saying, okay, but with that comes baggage which you need to treat, or which you need to treat, which manifests itself in
So yes, but here's what's important. Sex addiction is like any other addiction. Sex is a beautiful, healthy gift from God. It only becomes a problem if it interferes in a person's life, right? If it creates problem in a relationship, if you're spending all day focusing on sex, if you violate the rights of others, like with betrayal, if you try to stop and you can't. And so I don't want to confuse healthy sexuality with addictive sex, because addictive sex really truly causes problem in the person's life and in their relationships.
But not everyone that betrayed is a sex addict.
Right,
and
that's true.
Not everyone, how would I say? There are difference between people. What one consider as too much for the other is normal.
Okay, so with sex addiction, it always comes with other problems. Sex is just the coping strategy. Typically under that is trauma. It's also what we're going to talk about today, pathological love relationships. one of my colleagues who's an expert in the field, Dan Drake, says, not all narcissists are sex addicts, but all sexually addicted people are narcissistic.
What is a narcissist?
So a narcissism is a cluster of traits. It's an inflated ego and low self-esteem. It includes being very grandiose, feeling entitled. They lack empathy, they lack conscience, and they lack remorse. They feel entitled to say what they want, do what they want, treat you, and they disregard your rights, your safety.
I feel I will be the one that will try a bit to push, I think, because
Please.
I have a problem currently with those definitions that everyone use like they are a specialist. And we hear that more and more and more, and everyone that gets rejected by someone, the other side immediately become narcissist or become a sociopath. And sometimes we just have to understand that people, they don't like us. They don't want us. It doesn't necessarily make them a narcissist, huh? Even if they are bad behavior.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to push back. Most of what you said, I agree with. Sometimes people just aren't meant to be together. And you're right, they're just not a good match. However, it's when you see a cluster of behaviors that disregards your rights that, okay, so let's just look at some of the traits of pathological, really what we're talking about are personality disordered people. And so what are their traits? They're superficially charming. They are emotionally detached. They lack empathy. They can't feel your pain, but not only do they feel their own pain, they get a pleasure out of causing you pain. Okay? Literally, they get a hit of dopamine if they see they've caused you pain. They can be impulsive. They lack control over their anger or rage, and they feel justified to rage at people. And they can't tolerate another person's negative emotion. So they can get angry, but you're not allowed to. They can't tolerate boredom. They're always looking for fun and seeking thrills. They disregard laws, rules, the norms. So they look for people that have like high ethics, high morality, because they don't want other people to do what they will do to you.
Can I just ask,
Of course.
is this more this type of disorder, is it something that exists or that is observed more in men or in women? Or is it more...
If we're talking more, then yes, more in men. However, there are many, many women who are pathological. We call these personality disorders cluster B personality disorders. This is a brain disorder, but we don't understand and we don't teach that these types of character traits, if very early on they don't engage in therapy and really work hard on it all their lives, it's progressive. It gets worse over the years, not better.
Okay. I understand.
And
sorry.
go ahead.
No,
you go.
I understand what you are saying. And again, I'm not a specialist. I can agree with, as you said before, most of the things. But me as a normal person, not a therapist, not a psychologist, when I see, and we all have social media,
Yep.
you see non-stop talking about all the narcissists. For me, there is a problem taking this and just globalize it. That everyone are narcissists. It's too
It's
easy.
not that
It's too easy to label people like that for me, huh? And I'm not talking about
I
again
agree.
someone like you that's sitting in a clinic and talk with someone. It's something else. You had the time to review everything, but when you see that it's kind of fashion.
Okay,
But-
but Sagit, here's the reality. Culturally, we are becoming more and more narcissistic because what's at the heart of narcissism? It's a self-centeredness. Look around you. Look at all the people that are walking around with their cell phones, ignoring others, taking selfies, posting everything they eat, everything they do, as if they are the center of the universe. We are creating a culture and a society of self-centeredness. And we see this in how we conduct ourselves. Look, we're really struggling, right, as a culture. Anti-Semitism is huge. If you look at what's happening in the world around us, it's because there's now a belief that we could say what we want, do what we want, violate the rights of others, that what we think and feel is more important than anyone else. And just because we say it, that makes it true. We have to recognize that it actually is a problem and that we have to begin, if it were up to me, we would be teaching about this in junior high school and high school. We need to teach people what are the traits, what's unhealthy, and then how do you get targeted? What is it that a pathological person looks for in another person? And what are our own traits that make us vulnerable to narcissistic, pathological people?
So what you're saying, if I understand correctly, is that could I say narcissistic relationship or when if you have pathological relationship, typically if we now say, okay, a shout out to everyone right now that's listening, how do you identify that such a relationship is, how does it manifest itself? I mean, what are the signs for it? How do you know is this something that we choose? Do we choose people? Are there people that choose people like that? Is there something in the partner that is not narcissistic that is looking for that? I mean,
Yes.
could we maybe we use the session to raise some awareness?
That's what I would love to talk about, because that's my fantasy, is to teach all junior high and high school kids what is healthy and what puts us at risk. So there's like about 10 different things that we could go through that in a healthy relationship is wonderful. But if you're in a pathological relationship, you're in trouble, you're in danger, and you need to run. How about we start there?
Go ahead.
Okay. So what are the traits of women who get into pathological love relationships? Well, the first thing is what we call super traits. These super traits are high empathy, high compassion, and high cooperativeness or agreeableness. In other words, these are very loving, nurturing, giving, will give with all their hearts. And that's a beautiful thing if you're with the same kind of a person. But if you're with a pathological person, they're going to use that against you. And if within the first 2 minutes of meeting you, okay, you meet a new person, you start talking. If they don't get the sense that you are hyper empathic, compassionate, and cooperative, they're going to move on to the next person within 2 minutes.
But what if they stay together and in the beginning everything is fine and going well, and then after the kids and after the mortgage, the person, and I'm not saying if it's a man or a woman because I think it should be for both, to be aware.
No, to be sure, it's
one
both.
of the couple decide that they don't want to stay, they cheat.
Right.
And as we know, most of the people don't come and say, oh, listen, I don't feel well in this relationship, I want out. Usually, most of the people needs a trigger and needs some safety place to land before they break the relationship. It's sad, it's not nice, but usually this is how it happens. Does it make the person that cheated or left narcissist? Does it make this relationship pathological?
Okay, so Sagit, there are 3 phases in a pathological love relationship. So the first phase is what we call love bombing.
Mm-hmm.
There's an intensity. You are the greatest thing since ice cream. You are the only one that loves them, knows them, understands them. And most important, you are the only person that can save them. Nobody up until this point understood them like you do. And this is very, very fast and early in the relationship. And the healthy person experiences that as love. Oh my God, he really loves me, or she really loves me. I get them. And then they also start very early with their own victim story. I was abused. It's a false, fake narrative to get the person to feel sorry for them. So not only are you the only one that could save me, understands me, but you're the only one that's going to be good to me. And little does she know. And for right now, just to keep it simple, we're going to say that the pathological is a male and the victim is a female. It doesn't work if you have 2 pathologicals.
Because
there always has to be.
Because you don't trigger empathy.
That's right. There always has to be a victim and a predator. And these are predatory behaviors. Now, the super traits keep these people in relationships. So, for example, we talked about hyperempathy, hypercompassion. But there are other things that these women, right, also look for. They seek excitement. They're extroverts. They're a lot of fun. They too are the life of the party. They chase fun, novelty. They hate to be bored. And they look for guys that dominate, are more powerful, controlling. Not that they want to be controlled, but they love that power. And these guys are also highly, highly sexual. So they will use sex both in a positive and negative way. In the beginning, sex is going to be awesome, and he has a very high sex drive, and there's a lot of sexual energy and passion. But then it can be very abusive. He can start to shame, degrade. You no longer arouse me. You've gained weight. I want to do things that you're no longer willing to do. And sex becomes a way of controlling her and really lowering her confidence and self-esteem. These women don't give up. You know, once they're in the relationship, they work really, really hard to try to save it. They remember the guy that love bombed them. In their body, we call it body memory. They remember the good guy, the guy they fell in love with. That's the guy they want back. And the problem is when she's like thinking of leaving, he lures her back in. He starts love bombing. It's a cycle. Love bomb, devalue her. They love bomb, they devalue until they are ready to discard. And when they're ready to discard, when they're done, like you said, Sigit, they do it in a very painful, excruciating, hurtful way, because that's how they get their high. They want to destroy their partner's self-esteem, confidence. That's not love. That's not even care. That's really envy, jealousy, wanting to hurt another human being.
Is that hereditary? Because you mentioned that if it's not you mentioned a brain disorder. Is it a hereditary brain disorder?
So it can be. It can be. But also, if a child grows up in a family system where their parent, their mother, father are inconsistent and unpredictable, the child will develop certain coping strategies in order to survive. And they will not attach in a healthy way to a parent. And so, you know, there's such a thing as a good enough mother, right? A good enough mother most of the time meets the child's needs. But if a mother can't do that and puts herself first, and the child is fed inconsistently, loved inconsistently, they're not going to learn how to attach or bond. And what do? They attach to things and not people. So they need more money, more power, more success, more people around them. They need to be put on a pedestal. They need to feel very grandiose because they don't have a core. They're like a black hole, a bottomless pit, needing endless amount of validation because they can't validate themselves. Do you see why it's pathological?
I understand what you are explaining. I agree with what you explained, but I find that it's that the example that you gave, it's mostly general. Me personally, I don't believe that everyone that cheat, that everyone that their marriage is done, even if it's done, if it's over, not in a nice way, I don't think that immediately it makes it pathological.
I don't think that she
so this is why I'm saying maybe I'm wrong, but I just took the example that she said that you're love bombing, because most of their relationship, or again, I'm not an expert, but the example that I gave, it's not about love bombing, that it starts with love bombing, and I just spoke about general relationship that starts in a normal way and then it ends. And we know that sadly, most of the relationships ends our days.
Yeah.
The question is whether, I think the question is whether the partner, the ex-partner, thrives on the pain of the other person.
I understand, but
that's how. Did I understand it correctly? That it's
you did, and it's not just the pain, but Sigit.
But sometimes
there are lots of people break up. That doesn't make you a narcissist. It doesn't make it pathological.
Exactly.
Right. Lots of people break up for lots of reasons. We're not meant to be in all.
Yes,
not
but
all of us are
I'm
meant to be in
saying that
relationship.
sometimes, again, the person that got hurt, I'm divorced now, and we know that I'm divorced, and I got hurt, and I never saw myself as a victim. I was sad. I had my issues, but I never saw myself as a victim. And I feel that sometimes the person that got hurt feels that the other one is what do you say, villain, that he's the worst, that he's not
predator.
yeah. But maybe the one that got hurt should make some reflection the way that they approach what happens. And maybe the other side just want, again, it can be bad, it can be hurtful, but maybe the person that got hurt has to say, okay, he's, I don't know, an idiot, he's really bad, but this is my responsibility now for my life, and not to accuse the other side for being...
Can I try?
Of course.
I want to try to phrase what you said as a question, so that if we look at it from the other side, if we flip the coin right now and we say, how do we know that we're looking objectively at a situation, that we are in a pathological relationship, versus, because we're not objective. So the other person, if we go through an experience, the other person might feel like the person in front of them, their partner, was a narcissist, where in fact they're not. It's just an ugly separation. What are the triggers? How would we know?
So let's clarify, okay? First of all, you use the word victim. And the reality is there's a term called narcissistic victim syndrome. Because when you are in a relationship with a narcissist, a true narcissist, we're talking about gaslighting, severe emotional and psychological abuse, pathological lying, and something called DARVO. Have you ever heard of DARVO?
No.
Okay, so this is really, really important. It's what we call an acronym. Every letter stands for something. So the D, this is their abuse strategy. This is what they do. So the D stands for deny or dismiss, right? They create a lot of chaos. The partner comes and says, I just saw you flirting. I didn't flirt. That's you flirting. So they deny. Then they attack you. That's not me. That's you. You just did that. Right. Then they reverse the situation so that they become the victim and you become the offender. That is emotional and psychological abuse, and what every pathological does. And why? Gaslighting. It's to make you crazy. It's to disorient you. It's to alter, change your reality. This is all abuse. It's not. So if you're in a relationship, now we think of abuse as somebody who hits, right? Or sexual abuse, rapes. But pathological people, only a certain amount of time will they abuse, physically abuse, or sexually abuse. Although sex is used a lot, I will say, to destroy the person's confidence and ego. Go ahead, Sigit.
So when someone comes to you with a story, how do you recognize, because as you said, you mentioned it now, a real one. How do you make the difference between a real problem of pathological relationship or what I mentioned before, it was just a nasty breakup. And
okay, so first of all, when they first, the way I get couples is because there's what's called a discovery. The discovery typically of betrayal and or sex addiction, where they'll see all this, affairs, sexting, prostitutes, all sorts of out of control sexual behavior. And they come in very, very traumatized. They had no clue that their partner was living a secret life. And we've studied partners. Their trauma is equivalent to a 9.0 earthquake.
But earthquakes
That's
only go to 7.8, no, on the Richter scale.
It goes up. No, the Japanese Fukushima earthquake was a 9.0, and we use that earthquake because the discovery is a 9.0.
Okay.
Then there is what we call a therapeutic disclosure, where he will disclose all of the lies, secrets, bad behavior that she had no idea was going on in the marriage. That's more trauma. And then for the next year, you see like the nuclear fallout. She is in a traumatized fog. She doesn't know what hit her. The trauma is so great that it takes a village. It takes a therapist. It takes a support group. It takes understanding, learning. How did I not know this was going on? How did I not know that there were all these lies, secrets, compartments?
Is there a message that we can pass to people that are in such relationships that maybe listen and are now becoming a bit more aware, to identify something within themselves, why they look for, because somebody that is also over empathic and it takes two to tango here. If you are fertile, if you are as a person, you're fertile grounds for such a relationship, there is also something that you need to know about yourself.
Well, that's where therapy or coaching becomes very important, because once healthy people see the abusive behaviors, they get out, right? But there are people that are hyper empathic, hyper compassionate, and they have a very high level of attachment. Once they attach, they don't want to let go. They want to do whatever they can to save the relationship. And look, for some people, they may have children. They may be financially dependent. There may be reasons why they're tolerating abuse, because they find themselves in a situation where leaving the situation is going to be a whole lot harder than staying in the relationship. I highly recommend the book, Should I Stay or Should I Go? By Dr. Ramani Deversala.
You mentioned all the reasons for people to stay. And
that they do stay. Not that I'm suggesting they stay.
No, I understand. Sorry, I apologize. Yeah. The reason why they choose to stay. But isn't all of that comes to self-esteem and self-confidence?
Partially, but not necessarily.
Because we know that there are some people that would say, even if I will eat eggs all my life, I prefer to be alone and happy than being miserable with that guy or that woman.
Okay, so that person is very, very healthy, because healthy people understand that they are responsible for their own joy and happiness. People in pathological love relationships, both both partners, look to the other person to fill them up and make them happy. And the person that is the victim here, that is really trying hard, she trusts. She's too trusting. She listens. She listens to what he says, basically his lies, his mask, but she doesn't look at the behaviors. And she's incredibly loyal. She does for him what he won't do for her. And so they stay in these relationships far too long until it becomes intolerable, until they realize that this isn't love. This is dominance, control, manipulation, abuse.
Time is flying,
Yeah,
and we have a
I
million
also-
questions
I know,
to
I'm
ask.
so sorry.
We're almost in the end, and we have so many questions.
Yeah, I'm going to move to the healing part.
Good.
How can someone rebuild trust?
Okay. Right now, take trust out of your vocabulary.
Okay.
At this stage, trust should not even be in your vocabulary.
Okay.
Because the very first thing the person needs to do is understand, gain insight. They need to understand pathological people, and they need to understand their own character traits that make them vulnerable to a pathological person.
Or attracted to a pathological person. Yeah.
Exactly. So first thing is education. The second thing is self-care. They have to learn to put themselves first. They have to learn that because of their own anxiety, their own attachment, they have to learn how to love themselves, take care of themselves. Therapy, yoga, meditation, getting out in nature, surrounding themselves with loving, healthy people. Don't get into a new relationship. First, you have to heal from what you've just been through. Then you've really got to understand, what is a healthy relationship? What does that look like? What do I want? And I always say, you're never going to know until they show you who they really are. How do you tell the difference when somebody really likes you or is love bombing you? Everybody's at their best behavior in the beginning of the relationship.
Yeah.
Which means, because I know I'm in the dating world, it means that I don't attach to anyone until I've been with them long enough to see who they really are, not the false self. With some guys, it takes 4 to 6 months before I see the first sign of pathology. And then I wait to see, are there other signs? As soon as I see 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm gone. Because I know I am empathic, compassionate.
Yeah.
And I love that about myself. I'm just never going to be taken advantage of again.
How many people really, I don't want to say recover, but after they maybe feel better, stronger, and going back to dating, to relationship, how many really changed the type of the personality that they are going, even if they wait 4 months, 5 months, we are human.
Oh, wait.
Go for the people you're not attracted to.
Wait a second. A lot. I think that, because I know with the women that I work with, that when they truly are with a pathological person, really pathological, they don't want to do that again. They're ready to break the pattern. They realize that they've had other relationships earlier on, and they begin to look at their own traits. and they say, I am not doing that again. And so they know, they learn what love bombing is. They learn the devalue stage and all the different ways they are devalued. They don't tolerate bad behavior after a truly pathological relationship. And like you said, Siggy, I'd rather eat eggs and be alone and create my own life, be happily single. And I tell women, you can be happily single. We do not need other people to fill us up. We need to learn how to fill ourselves up and find our own happiness and joy. And then if and when we meet the right person who truly loves us and is loving and caring and empathic and compassionate, and you see that, and here are the two most important words, consistently and predictably. If they are loving consistently and predictably, you go, girl. You found a good one. Hold on to that guy. But if you start to see those abusive behaviors, you run like the hill because they show you who they are.
And with this message, unfortunately, we must finish. But we really, really appreciate that.
It was super interesting.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I have the feeling that
we
need
didn't get to
more.
10% of our questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. What we hope that we have done here today is raise awareness. Hopefully some reflection. And if you're not sure, ask maybe your friends and family. They will give you good insights because they see things differently sometimes than you do. So I guess the role of the people around you is critical in identifying whether you are in a relationship like this or not, in a pathological relationship.
There's so much on the internet. You look up pathological love relationships. Read the book, Women Who Love Psychopaths by Sandra Brown. Listen to Dr. Ramani Deversila. She's all over the internet. Get her books. Call a coach. Call a therapist.
Yeah.
There's so much help out there. You do not need to stay in an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
But the first thing is realizing that, to do the work and realize that you are, identify that, that you're in such a relationship. We wanted to really thank you for today.
You're welcome.
Very interesting.
Yes. And,
we will have to reschedule.
But we have to.
We need to have another. Yeah.
Yes.
Anytime.
Thank you very, very much, Dorit, for being with us today. ואנחנו רוצות להגיד גם לכולם, אם יש איזה שהם שאלות או משהו, אז תפנו אלינו בפייסבוק, באינסטגרם, במה שלא. ותודה שאתם איתנו כאן, כן, שלום כבר עושה לי שלום, מספיק. תודה שאתם כאן איתנו ב-90.2 רדיו FM ברדיו ג'ודאיקה.
תודה לכולכם.
והכי ישראלי עד הפעם הבאה. ביי.
ביי.
ביי.